following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFangy coming to you with my latest Transformers review, and I looked around at which Transformers figures I could review this morning before I have to go to work, and I decided the one that would make a quick and fun review is one that I was kind of reluctant to get at first, and I've debated whether or not if I should just take it back to the store and get my money back for it, but after some consideration I figured what would be the harm in not only keeping it in my collection but doing a full-on review. So without further delay, here is the Transformers Generations Legacy Buzzworthy Bumblebee Evil Predacon Terrorsaur. So this has become one of the more sought-after figures in the Transformers Buzzworthy line, due to the fact that the first version of Terrorsaur that was released in the Transformers Kingdom line that has the paint job that Terrorsaur had in the Beast Wars cartoon. This was released as an Amazon exclusive as part of the Transformers Kingdom Golden Disc collection, and the Transformers Kingdom version of Terrorsaur, it's one of the most hard to find Transformers figures of the Kingdom line, so because for Transformers collectors who missed out on that version of Terrorsaur, the Buzzworthy or the legacy version of Terrorsaur was a last opportunity to get Terrorsaur and add him to their Transformers collections. But even if you do have Kingdom Terrorsaur, I still think that this version of Terrorsaur is a worthwhile figure to have. The Buzzworthy version of Terrorsaur, the main thing that it has to feature, that it has to distinguish itself from the Kingdom version of Terrorsaur, is that this version of Terrorsaur has the paint job that Terrorsaur's original 1996 Beast Wars action figure had. So it's not the paint job that he had in the Beast Wars cartoon, it's the one that his Beast Wars action figure came with. There's been a handful of, so far, Terrorsaur is actually one of 4 Transformers Beast Wars figures that were released in the Kingdom line, where Hasbro and Takara Tomy, to use the mold a second time, has released the mold in the paint job that the action figures from the Beast Wars line back in 1996 had, just to try and show fans and collectors the different paint jobs that the action figures were given versus the paint jobs given to the animation models of the Transformers Beast Wars characters in the Beast Wars cartoon by Mainframe Entertainment. And Terrorsaur is no exception to that. One of the main differences between this version of Terrorsaur and the Kingdom version that I kind of have already shown, you can see it here in the box, is that this version of Terrorsaur, his helmet on his head is painted a bluish purple, while as this one it's the same red plastic used on the rest of Terrorsaur. There's some other differences, but that's the main difference, is that this version of Terrorsaur, or there's parts that are blue and black that are red on this version of Terrorsaur, and his other parts are just silver. Terrorsaur had kind of a monotonous paint job, similar to most of the animation model paint jobs of the Beast Wars characters. So here on Buzzworthy Terrorsaur, you got him there in the box. It is an open window packaging. All the Buzzworthy Transformers figures have had open windows on them. So there's some artwork of Terrorsaur in his pterodactyl mode. You got the poster image for the Transformers Buzzworthy Bumblebee line. You've got the artwork of Earthrise RC. You've got Generation 1 Mirage. I believe that's an image of him from the Transformers mobile games. You got Bumblebee from the Transformers Earth Wars video game, and you've got Optimus Prime from the Transformers Cyberverse cartoon, and these figures here, G1 RC, G1 Mirage, Cyberverse Bumblebee, and Earth Wars Bumblebee, and Cyberverse Optimus Prime. Those are just there to show you, the reason why these 4 Transformers characters and images are being used here as the poster image for the Transformers Buzzworthy Bumblebee line. And I've seen some Transformers fans and collectors who still don't understand why RC, Mirage, Bumblebee, and Optimus Prime are being used on here. This is to let Transformers fans and collectors know that, somewhat similar to what the Legacy line is doing now, the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line came out over a year ago in 2021. Transformers characters from just about any Transformers series across the entire Transformers franchise can end up getting a figure in the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line. So that's why G1RC, G1 Mirage, Earth Wars Bumblebee, and Cyberverse Optimus Prime are being used here on the side of used as the poster image for the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line. So yes, this version of Terrorsaur is known as Evil Predacon Terrorsaur. He's one of two Beast Wars repaint figures. Let me rephrase that really fast. As Terrorsaur is one of two Transformers figures in the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line whose paint job is based on his original Beast Wars action figure, unlike his Kingdom figure, which has the paint job from his animation model in the Beast Wars cartoon. The other one is Dinobot, who I'm pointing to right behind me there. Terrorsaur and Dinobot are two of four Beast Wars characters that have been repainted into the paint jobs that their original Beast Wars action figures had. Another one that I have in my collection is Scorponok, who was released in the Transformers Creatures Collide 4-pack. That's the box behind me. The first one, what we got, was Black Arachnia, who was released in the Buzzworthy Worlds Collide 4-pack that was released last year in 2021. I missed out on the Worlds Collide 4-pack. I have one figure from that set, Nemesis Primal. I don't know if I'm going to ever get the Worlds Collide Black Arachnia figure because I haven't found it going for a decent price on eBay. It's pretty sought after since the gold plastic legs on that version of Black Arachnia, you can swap those out with the Kingdom version of Black Arachnia, and you have an even more cartoon accurate version of Black Arachnia from the Beast Wars series. But anyways, bringing focus back here on Terrorsaur. Here on the back of the box, you've got some product photos, and again, there's some of the blue highlights that Terrorsaur has, and this is the paint job that his original Beast Wars action figure had. He's got a blue helmet, blue hands, and blue shins, blue thighs, eyes, and he's got black marks on his torso and his pelvis. And there he is in his pterodactyl mode. And he transforms back and forth between both modes in just 22 steps. And yes, the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line is now a subline of Transformers Legacy, which both lines themselves are sublines of the overall Transformers Generations line. So yes, Hasbro is basically saying that the Transformers Buzzworthy Bumblebee line, instead of being its own distinct line of Transformers figures that are dedicated to Bumblebee, it's now just going to be a line that releases figures that aren't being released in the main line of Transformers Legacy due to the fact that these figures are repaints and retools of previously released figures. They aren't brand new sculpts. And that's a vast majority of the time, not 100% of the time, but that's the reason. That's what constitutes why Transformers figures get released as exclusives here in the United States instead of being released at mass retail. So, we will be right back. We will get Terrorsaur out of his box and take a close look at him in his robot mode. Alright, and so, sorry for my voice being a little cracked right there, but I've been very dehydrated the last day, but I am working on ending that. So here is Terrorsaur out of his box, and he is pretty impressive looking. Even though it's not quite the same, I do enjoy how the blue helmet and blue hands gives him kind of like a Optimus Prime look to him. Even though his legs aren't entirely blue, it's just his the bottom of his thighs where his knee joints are, and the front of his shins. And that's actually blue paint right there, and then the ankle joints are blue plastic. I don't know why they just didn't do the whole lower half of his legs blue plastic, but I guess, as I just said, they didn't want Terrorsaur to look too much like Optimus Prime. Since he has the full eyes and mouth instead of Optimus Prime, it actually looks more like an evil Orion Pax look to him. But yes, I am really impressed with how Terrorsaur came out. I'm trying to look over to see if he has a Predacon symbol painted on him. I can't see it. I've watched a few reviews of Buzzworthy Terrorsaur, and I don't think he has any Predacon symbols on him. But overall, I do enjoy the paint job, how it came out. The original Beast Wars Terrorsaur figure did have these yellow scales painted up and down the middle of him, so that's very accurate. accurate. One thing to note is that unlike Kingdom Terrorsaur, or my camera's not picking it up well, but the shade of plastic used here on the inside of the wing, it's a much darker shade of red, and the outer part of the wing is a much brighter shade of red. My camera is making them look almost as though they're the same shade of red plastic, but in hand, when you look at it with your own eyes, you can't see the differences. But yes, overall, Terrorsaur does look pretty impressive looking. One nice thing is that right here, these black lines here on the outside of his chest, that's actually black paint. It looks like the same black plastic like what's used on his elbow joints and his pelvis, but it does match up pretty well. It's done to mimic the way the hinge joint on the original Beast Wars Terrorsaur figure works, so it's very nice and very nice callback to that original Beast Wars Terrorsaur action figure. For those of you who are unaware, the original Beast Wars Terrorsaur action figure was a tiny, it's a now defunct size class known as Scout class. They were very similar in size to modern day Core class figures, and essentially in the original Beast Wars line of action figures, Terrorsaur was the same size as a Transformer as Rat Trap was. That's why in the Beast Wars cartoon, Terrorsaur is portrayed as being much slender and more thin than the other Predacons are, because in the Beast Wars line of action figures, he was much smaller than they are. So for a size comparison, here's Buzzworthy Terrorsaur next to Kingdom Terrorsaur. So here's the differences of what Transformers fans had when they looked at Terrorsaur back in 1996. This is what they saw, this is what you saw in the Beast Wars cartoon, and this is what you bought at the store and actually held in your hand. So yeah, there's some pretty significant. It's pretty incredible how the difference of switching out the blue and black parts for red and silver parts. It really changes how Terrorsaur looks. From what I can tell, the same exact shade of white paint is used on Terrorsaur's face. The main difference is that there's a more white around his eyes on the Buzzworthy Terrorsaur versus Kingdom Terrorsaur. Some other differences are the tiny wings on his arms. They're painted silver on Kingdom Terrorsaur. They're unpainted red plastic on Buzzworthy Terrorsaur. Kingdom Terrorsaur, again, he's got black spotted scales on him, where he's got the gold, or are they gold or green? I can't really tell now. I can't really distinguish gold and green when it's on a red background like that. But yeah, scales are different. And again, main difference is that the blue parts have been swapped out for silver here on Kingdom Terrorsaur, or versus Buzzworthy Terrorsaur. And one last difference is that the laser guns. Buzzworthy Terrorsaur's gun is unpainted red plastic, and Kingdom Terrorsaur's is painted gunmetal gray. Okay. But yeah, I do really enjoy seeing them standing side by side with each other. There's a few more subtle differences between them, but I'll show them off when we get them transformed and take a look at them in pterodactyl mode. But yes, I do enjoy how the paint job on this figure came out, and how, again, as it makes him with the blue helmet and the blue hands on, and the partially blue legs on the red body. I love how it makes Terrorsaur look like an evil version of Optimus Prime, or Orion Pax, if you will. Alright, and so before I fully show off Terrorsaur in his alt mode, I looked, and yes, he does have one solitary Predacon symbol here on his lower right side arm. It's the same exact Predacon symbol that Kingdom Terrorsaur has. So I apologize for not noticing that while I had him transformed in robot mode. But here is Buzzworthy Terrorsaur, or transformed into his alt mode of a pterodactyl. And yes, the paint job is pretty accurate to his original Beast Wars action figure, with the scales here running up and down his head. One gripe I have is that I wish they would have done some type of paint apps to make his mouth and his head in pterodactyl mode look more interesting. And I wish they would have at least painted his tongue on the inside of his mouth pink, just to make it stand out from the rest of the sculpting detail. For a size comparison, here he is with Kingdom Terrorsaur, and as you can see, in pterodactyl mode, apart from the same silver and blue paint jobs that were found in robot mode, the main difference in pterodactyl mode, apart from the different colored scales, black ones here on Kingdom Terrorsaur, green ones or gold ones, I can't tell, on Buzzworthy Terrorsaur. But the main difference in pterodactyl mode are the paint jobs used on the heads, and I really, and I have to admit that I do enjoy the paint job on Kingdom Terrorsaur's head a lot more than the Buzzworthy Terrorsaur. I mean, having just the eyes painted yellow with black pupils and the teeth white. Technically, Hasbro and Takara Tomy did the same here on Kingdom Terrorsaur, but having his bill or his beak painted, having his jaws painted yellow, it really helps break up the red plastic versus here on Buzzworthy Terrorsaur where it's unpainted, and it helps bring out the highlights on the inside of his mouth. Having it unpainted red plastic, it just makes it a little bland and dull looking here on Buzzworthy Terrorsaur, or by comparison. But overall, I do enjoy having this figure, and even if you have Kingdom Terrorsaur, this one does still stand pretty incredible on its own. And another distinction you can do to tell them apart from each other if you have both versions is put the laser guns on opposite sides of them. I wish there was a type of I wish they had put a 5mm peg or designed some place where you could put the laser gun on somewhere it would make Terrorsaur symmetrical in his pterodactyl mode. But if you want to, you can give either one of them both laser guns if you want onto, just to give the figures a symmetrical appearance to each other. And just for a size comparison with another Transformers figure in Beast mode, here is Terrorsaur next to Creatures Collide Scorponok. So again, we're getting repaints in the Legacy line, and specifically in the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line of the Transformers Beast Wars characters, where they have the paint jobs based off of their original Beast Wars action figures, since in the Kingdom line, the figures of them that we got had the paint jobs from the Beast Wars cartoon show. So whether or not the other Beast Wars figures from the Kingdom line are going to be repainted in the Buzzworthy Bumblebee line and toy accurate paint jobs that they had back in 1996 is uncertain at this point. I've actually bought Dinobot twice. The first copy I bought, I took it back to Target because at the time I needed the money more than I needed Dinobot, and I'm still uncertain about this second version here. And again, I haven't gotten Black Arachnia from the Worlds Collide 4-pack yet because I haven't seen her going for a decent price tag. But so the question is to ask at this point is, which other Beast Wars characters who were given figures in the Kingdom line, which other ones are going to be given repainted into paint jobs that their original Beast Wars action figures had in the Buzzworthy line. I honestly cannot say, but I do hope that if I had to choose toy-accurate versions of the characters to get, I would go for repainting a Kingdom Beast Wars Megatron in his original Beast Wars action figure paint job of mostly gray. Maybe the upcoming Legacy Inferno, maybe painting him in his original Beast Wars action figure paint job might be something I'd be interested in. I'm not too certain about Optimus Primal's Primal being done in his original Beast Wars action figure paint job. Definitely I have no interest in seeing, I have to admit, I have no interest in seeing Cheetor or Rhinox repainted in the paint jobs that their original Beast Wars figures had. But I would be interested in seeing maybe Tigertron done in his original Beast Wars paint job, even though, in my opinion, the Kingdom figure nailed his paint job fairly well. But you never know. I was surprised to see that there are just as many differences as there are similarities comparing Buzzworthy Terrorsaur with Kingdom Terrorsaur here. And one thing that my camera is pointing out here at this angle, this version of the Kingdom version of Terrorsaur, which is done in more of a slightly darker, I don't know what shade of red this is called. but here on the Buzzworthy Terrorsaur, he's actually done in a much brighter. This type of red is known as a cherry red. I guess you could call this like a blood red. That is what Kingdom Terrorsaur has done. But yeah, I'm loving that my camera's picking out that this version of Terrorsaur is done in a much brighter shade of red plastic than the Kingdom version. So yeah, there are just as many similarities as there are just as many differences as there are similarities between these two versions of Terrorsaur. So even if you do have the Kingdom version of Terrorsaur to end off the review, I do recommend you find, and if you find the Buzzworthy Terrorsaur figure, that you add him to your collection. If you did miss out on getting the Kingdom version of Terrorsaur and you don't have that figure, then most definitely go for this figure. Despite being a retool of Kingdom Terrorsaur, which I apologize for not bringing out for another size comparison, I do enjoy how Terrorsaur turned out overall. And yes, even though both versions of Terrorsaur have been released as exclusives, at least this one being exclusive to Target stores here in the United States, it's made him much easier to obtain than the Kingdom version of Terrorsaur was. So thank you guys all so much. This has been the TFN Geek, and until next time, you guys stay safe, stay healthy. If you find the Buzzworthy Bumblebee Terrorsaur figure, I highly recommend you get this figure and add it to your collection. And until next time, you guys, transform and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.